A huge frustration when trying to eat healthy is knowing what foods are good for you and which foods are not. Millions of dollars are spent on fancy marketing trying to convince you that dangerous foods are actually good for you. The foods I'm about to share with you are undoubtedly the worst foods that are perceived to be healthy. Staying healthy should not be so hard, but there's an incentive for food companies to deceive you, using labels like all natural or heart healthy, labels that have no standards behind them at all. They're just simply slick marketing practices meant to deceive you, the buyer. It's still to this day where my wife or I will go to the grocery store in a hurry and we'll grab food and we'll bring it home thinking it is healthy, and then once we look at the label, we find out it's nothing more than fake food. But the good news is that today you're going to learn the top healthy foods that you should absolutely never eat so that you don't make the mistakes that most people do. Let's first take a look at processed organic foods. You don't want to be duped by this. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, it's organic. It must be healthy, right? Well, chips, ice cream, French fries, and cookies can all be organic and still have ingredients in them that are detrimental to your health. Let's take a look at macaroni and cheese made by Kraft, for instance. They now have an organic version. But when you really look at the label and break down the food that's there, well, that's a huge load of carbs, no vegetables, and really hardly any protein at all. Or cookies, for example. Some of these organic cookies, they have no preservatives in them, the dyes are removed, the artificial flavorings removed, but it's still a huge load of sugar that's going to have a negative impact on your metabolism, just like any other sugar would. When we see organic, it does not mean it's a guaranteed health food. It does mean it's a better option, but not a guarantee that it's good for you. As a rule of thumb, we should always try to stick to whole foods that are found in nature. The next category that I want to focus on is healthy sweeteners, because the reality is that pretty much anybody embarking on a health journey finds themselves looking at things like brown rice syrup or agave nectar as a healthier alternative, when in fact they're not. Many health foods, for instance, will even use agave nectar, claiming that it's a better option. It'll be in many health foods as a core ingredient. Now, the reality of that is that your agave nectar is in many cases worse off than your typical table sugar. And the reason for this is because agave nectar is 70 to 90% fructose, which is associated with severe metabolic issues. As my wife and I decided to start transforming our own health and our own diet, one of the first health food shopping trips that we ever made included buying 3 big bottles of agave nectar. And the reason that we even bought it in the first place was because some friends of ours who we perceived to be eating really healthy told us it's good for you. And so of course we quickly realized that we should not be eating this stuff. But let me know in the comments below, have any of your friends or family ever gave you some really poor health advice? What was it? Now, the other sweetener that you may get duped by is brown rice syrup. And this has a glycemic index of 98, which means it'll raise your blood sugar extremely rapidly when you consume it. And the other thing that's really bad about it is it's just empty calories, meaning that it'll offer you a whole lot of calories when you eat it, but it offers zero nutritional benefit to your body. Now look, we all like a sweet treat now and again, but when looking to alternative sweeteners, we want to use things like xylitol, stevia, monk fruit, erythritol, or even allulose. Now let's talk about fats. Low fat, reduced fat, or even fat-free. These are all labels that you want to really stay away from. There is no evidence that these foods will improve your health in any way. This is possibly one of the biggest nutritional mistakes ever pushed by major health organizations. And one of the big problems is that once you remove fat from food, it takes away the flavor from it. So now, after that, they fill it full of artificial ingredients and also sugar to make it taste good again. This was all based off very weak evidence that has now been debunked. So when you go shopping, make sure that you're always buying full fat foods, because your brain health and your cellular health really needs those good healthy fats. Next on our list of bad things that are considered healthy for you is fruit juice, or should I say liquid sugar. Now there's 2 real problems we face when we talk about fruit juice. First is that many of them are loaded with artificial flavorings, colorings, and high fructose corn syrup, and do not contain fruit juice in them at all. And unfortunately, many people are giving this to their kids. Now, as we look at real fruit juice, the problem is that you're taking all the juice extracted from multiple pieces of fruit and putting it all in one glass, leaving out the beneficial fiber. Now, this was not the way that nature ever intended for us to consume fruit. And when you take a glass of fruit juice, it has just as much sugar as a glass of soda. So drink your water. And if ever you're craving something sweet, then simply eat a piece of fruit. Now, in the few items that I've mentioned so far, many of them have tripped us up at some point when trying to eat healthy. And if not that, they were a big part of our childhood. Now, this is why, though, it's so key to knowing all the slick marketing practices so that you can avoid the foods that you absolutely should not eat, because it'll be really important for you transforming your health. The next area I really want to focus on is bad fats, because I believe personally that the biggest change that you can make in your diet that will have the biggest impact on your overall health is removing the bad fats. They cause inflammation, they're bad for your cardiovascular health, they have an impact on your brain health and even your nervous system. Some bad fats that you want to stay away from that are in almost everything because they're very inexpensive are fats like canola oil, cottonseed oil, and also soybean oil. Now, in general, fats are very good for you, but you just want to make sure that you're choosing the right ones. Some good options are fats like coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil, and also MCT oil. Some other good options are going to be grass-fed butter, ghee, lard, and also tallow. These all have a very positive impact on your overall health. You also have to watch out for this real wolf in sheep's clothing, and that is heart-healthy grains, of course. I mean, this is pasted over so many foods in the grocery store. And this nutritional lie is right up there with the one telling you you should consume low-fat foods in order to stay healthy. Today's grains are inflammatory, they're genetically altered, they're covered with pesticides and herbicides, and today's whole wheat, for instance, is so processed that it has the glycemic index that is very similar to plain old white bread. Now, we also want to realize this concept is that the grains that we have today are nothing like the same grains that our ancestors used to consume. So we want to stay grain-free whenever possible. But if you are going to consume them, we want to look to sprouted ancient grains or even an Ezekiel bread. Now, these next foods I've always been skeptical of, even when I didn't have a good understanding of what eating healthy was. And that is gluten-free junk foods. Sure, they remove the gluten from it, but the fact is it's replaced with other flours that are very high glycemic, like rice flour, and a whole lot of sugar to make them taste good. Now, we have to realize that gluten-free is not an all-encompassing label that equals healthy, because in many cases you will find preservatives, hydrogenated oils, food colorings, and a whole lot of high fructose corn syrup in these very foods. So gluten is something that most of us should avoid because it is not healthy for most of us. And the reality is, with gluten, is that we don't want to be consuming the gluten-free junk foods. We want to make sure that we're finding gluten-free foods found in nature, because this is going to be so much better than these highly processed gluten-free foods that many of these big corporate entities are trying to sell to you. This next one can really mess up your healthy diet simply because as you're trying to incorporate more leafy greens and vegetables in, you're counteracting all your hard work by putting a low-quality salad dressing on top of it. Yes, unfortunately, most of the salad dressings in the grocery store are loaded with artificial colors, flavorings, ingredients, and also a lot of hydrogenated oils and high fructose corn syrup. You know, the sugar we said that was the worst for you, and the bad fats that we said were very inflammatory, we do not want to be putting those on our nice, fresh bowl of vegetables. And so as we look for healthier options, one of my favorite brands right now is Primal Kitchen. Okay, this is a good quality, clean brand that you can trust. Another thing that you can do is look throughout your grocery store. You will likely find healthier options, or you can just keep it simple and use things like olive oil and vinegar and make your own salad dressings right at home. Your health is a direct representation of the foods that you eat. If you want to see your health markers change the next time you get blood work done, certainly make sure that you pay attention to labels when you're at the grocery store and that you're not buying these fake foods. And two key attributes of a good healthy diet are going to be eating grain-free and sugar-free whenever possible. Try to incorporate more leafy greens and cruciferous vegetables into your diet. They're micronutrient dense and very good for your liver and your gut health. Put MCTs in your coffee or tea in the morning. It's a great way to kickstart your day with healthy fats. It'll promote fat burning and also give you instant energy. I'll put a link in the description to the one that I use every day. A great way to incorporate more greens into your diet is by making smoothies. And you can even put berries in there, which are loaded with antioxidants that will fight off free radical damage in the body. And avoid at all costs prepackaged and highly processed foods. I'm Dr. Zyrowski, and it's been a pleasure educating you on how to improve your health naturally. The next video that will really help you improve your health is this one right here.